General Hospital. Secrets return with Michael as Port Charles splinters. Michael Corinthos' sudden return to Port Charles did not arrive quietly. It detonated like a long-buried grenade, sending shockwaves through every household that dared to believe stability might last just a little longer. Though his arrival might have seemed like a blessing to some, for others, it was the beginning of a reckoning. While the city basked in the illusion of celebration, truth, betrayal, and broken alliances simmered beneath the surface, ready to erupt. Carly Spencer, long a pillar of control in her family's orbit, found herself reeling not just from Michael's unexpected homecoming, but from the precision of his timing. It was no coincidence. Jason Morgan, Carly's most trusted ally, had finally intervened. Unbeknownst to Carly, Jason had made contact with Michael, pulling him from his secluded recovery far earlier than anyone had anticipated. While others smiled and wept with joy, Carly silently understood the implication. Michael's return wasn't a homecoming. It was a call to arms. Michael had not forgotten what had happened in his absence. The trial. The fight over Wiley. The secrecy. Carly had maneuvered behind the scenes, believing her son too weak, too emotionally drained to deal with another legal entanglement. But Michael had found out. Not only about the trial date, but also the whispers in the shadows about custody, influence, and leverage. Now, back in the heart of the storm, he had no intention of letting anyone, even his own mother, wield power over his children again. While Carly tried to mitigate the fallout, her focus was shattered by a new problem: Nina Reeves. The moment Nina heard Michael had returned, her carefully constructed emotional fortress cracked. Panic set in. She fled to Maxie Jones, desperate for someone to confide in, someone who might help her make sense of a rapidly collapsing world. She admitted it all: her dread of the custody hearing, her regret over her choices, and the deep fear that Willow would turn against her for good. But Maxie, wise from years of her own missteps, offered no illusions. Nina would have to face the storm she created, and no amount of apologies or secrets kept hidden could change that now. At the same time, elsewhere in Port Charles, the tangled web of the Quartermain and Falconeri families began to unravel. Brooke Lynn Quartermain and Dante Falconeri had been holding back a tidal wave of truth, and it finally crashed over them in the form of Giovanni Palmieri. Gio had been left in the dark about his parentage, about where he came from, about who had decided his fate. Brooke Lynn, under pressure, had reached out to him. But it was too little, too late. Gio's emotions spiraled, leading to a breakdown that left Dante furious, not just at the situation, but at Brooke Lynn's role in hiding the truth. The confrontation between Dante and Brooke Lynn was inevitable, and when it came, it shattered what remained of their fragile understanding. Dante demanded answers. Had Brooke Lynn ever intended to tell him? What would have happened if circumstances hadn't forced her hand? She tried to explain that it had never been malicious. that she was scared. That the truth, once spoken, could break them all. But Dante wasn't in the mood for compassion. The moment he realized her choices had led to Gio's suffering, something inside him fractured. And lurking in the shadows of this implosion was Lulu Spencer, perhaps watching with too much satisfaction for her own good. While the younger generation unraveled, their elders were not faring much better. Olivia Falconeri had been kept out of the loop, something she took as a personal betrayal. Lois Cerullo, ever the firebrand, found herself on the defensive, cornered by Olivia's righteous indignation. Olivia couldn't believe her oldest friend had failed to confide in her, and the heated exchange between them was anything but polite. Lois tried to defend herself. She explained that Olivia couldn't possibly understand the impossible choices she had faced. But Olivia wasn't interested in logic. She wanted honesty. And maybe she also wanted a little retribution for being kept in the dark. Their fight wasn't just about Gio or secrets, it was about years of friendship, strained by the complicated dance of family loyalty and personal fear. For Lois, defending her silence became exhausting. She had done what she thought was right at the time. But now, looking back, she wasn't so sure anymore. As all of this unfolded, the ground beneath Port Charles continued to shift. The emotional weight of so many lies, manipulations, and withheld truths had become unbearable. No relationship, no matter how rooted, remained untouched. Nina's spiraling confession to Maxie was perhaps the most haunting. She could sense that the upcoming custody hearing wasn't going to be a mere formality. With Michael back, strong and unapologetic, the tides had turned. Willow, who had once wavered in her trust of Michael, now faced a very different version of him. And even if she was bonded to Drew, that bond now stood on shaky ground. Nina wanted to believe she could still influence things. That maybe, just maybe, a well-timed revelation could shift the balance in her favor. But deep down, she knew the truth. The time for manipulations had passed. Every secret she clung to only pushed her further from the family she so desperately wanted to be a part of. The coming days promised more than legal drama, they hinted at deep, soul-wrenching reckonings. Michael wasn't returning to the role of obedient son or grieving father. He was returning as someone who had seen the world turn its back on him and decided never to let it happen again. The trial wouldn't just be about custody. It would be about trust, about betrayal, about who truly had the children's best interests at heart. And as the courtroom prepared to open its doors, Port Charles braced itself. Not for a fight, but for a war. A war where every whispered truth, every buried motive, and every broken promise would come to light.